Strange encounters, mysterious apparitions, the unknown. These have intrigued the human race as far back as anyone can remember. It exists in almost every nation, culture, and certainly cannot be separated from Asian folklore. Do you believe in the paranormal? I am Wraith. Welcome to my podcast. The Eerie Attic. A few years ago, Tommy moved into a one-bedroom apartment in Melbourne, Australia. It was his first time living on his own. The apartment block had been built in the 1930s. He'd been there for a few months when he came home from work one day and went into the bathroom. He saw something strange. A wooden board which had covered a hole in the ceiling that led to a small attic space lay fractured in two pieces on the ground. He examined the pieces. The board was an inch thick, and it would have taken someone strong to break it. He thought the landlord had sent someone to work on the attic. He was frozen stiff with fear. Someone is up here for sure, he thought. He emailed pictures to the landlord, asking if anyone had been. The reply he got was to call the landlord as soon as he was able to. So he called the landlord, and she explained to him that her last two tenants had said the same thing had happened. She promised to replace the board, and she did. A month later, Tommy woke up one night at around 4 a.m. His body was covered in goosebumps. He felt like someone was rubbing his or her hands on him. Everything was silent. But then he heard a dragging sound coming from above his bed. It was as if someone was pulling a sack of potatoes. Tommy froze, convinced that someone was up there in the attic. There was no way an animal could make that sound. After 5 minutes, he worked up the courage to turn on the light, armed himself with a cricket bat, and walked to the bathroom. That was when he saw that the new board covering the hole had been broken in two. He felt sick. The dragging sound had stopped, but he heard something else, whispering. The sound was clear and coming from the attic. It sounded like children's voices, and he could hear one sentence repeated over and over and over.
It's your turn, it's your turn.
Tommy switched on every light in the apartment to make things feel normal. It was 5 a.m. and dark outside. In order to unwind, he watched TV. Then a fuse blew. His pet budgie, Dexter, whom he kept in the kitchen, usually never made a sound at night. But that night, Dexter started squawking like he was being strangled. Tommy had never heard him make those sorts of noises. He was screaming. Tommy grabbed his car keys, ran out, sat in his car, and waited there until the sun came up. When he saw people walking their dogs, this comforted him enough to go back in. The front door was open, but he figured that he might have forgotten to close it when he ran out. He went to the kitchen to check on Dexter, but he wasn't in his cage. Tommy felt sick again. All the windows were closed, so he looked everywhere inside. When he walked to the bathroom, he heard splashing. Dexter was half drowned in the toilet. Tommy quickly took him out, washed him, and dried him. He was so confused. At 8 a.m., Tommy called the landlord and gave her a watered-down version of the night.
"Oh wow, you heard the whispering too,"
said the landlord. Tommy stayed in that apartment for another 18 months. He heard the whispering on a few occasions, and twice the board covering the hole in the ceiling moved. Although he now lives elsewhere, the landlord recently called. She said that her new tenants had begged to speak with Tommy about some of the stuff that had been going on there. Tommy was not interested to respond. So what was that Tommy experienced? Was it just his imagination?